Hello guys, welcome back to Gaming Tidbits, and today we're going to talk about Shenmue. More importantly, Shenmue 1 and 2 HD remakes. Now, when Shenmue 3 was originally announced, obviously E3, a lot of people obviously went nuts because, again, it was something they never thought they would see. The possibility of Shenmue 3. And obviously, it was successfully funded on Kickstarter, and you can still even, if you haven't, can still even, donate to money to make the game today. I'll put a link to Shenmue 3's website below, where there are a bunch of different, bonuses and other stuff, depending on how much you want to give to get a copy of the game. But right now, the current amount of money the game has gotten is $6,550,000, which right now is the budget of the game. Well, one of the questions has been, ever since Shenmue 3 announced, is when are we going to get HD remakes of Shenmue 1 and 2? As much as I finally remember playing Shenmue, and a lot of people do, putting it just on face value, some games graphically haven't aged really well. I mean, Shenmue's a great game, but it hasn't, especially you go PlayStation 1 and 2 era, Dreamcast era, during those graphics, you go back and play some of those games, you could see where, wow, graphic polish would really make this game look a lot better today. Even though those games have a certain charm and thing that you love, graphic polish could hurt. Well, it's one that Sega has been hinting at, that they've been investigating at the possibility, or looking at the possibility of doing high definition re-releases of Shenmue 1 and 2. Speaking on an episode of Sega Central, Sega Europe Community Manager said, they would love to release the games today, but it's just simply not that simple, porting the games to current consoles. And one of the things he says is true, they would have to ensure that any HD remaster lives up to the quality of the original. And what he means by that, to me, is how many series have moved on to like a later generation of consoles, and you're like, wow, graphically that would look great, and you go to play the game, and even though it graphically looks better, it's lost some of the charm of the original that made it so great to you. And that certainly is a worry. If you know you can upgrade the game, but it loses the charm that made the game great originally, then there's no point in remastering the game. Now, it would just take a careful balance to truly get it right. Now, there are also licensing issues. For example, here over in the West, the United States, Shenmue was not released, for example, Coca-Cola license for the game, but it was in Japan. And that was there where licensing was just beginning, where they, for example, Sega's arcade game Crazy Taxi. They had Pizza Hut and Kentucky Fried Chicken in the game, but later versions of the game ported at certain times didn't have it in it, and then eventually they got it to put it back in. That even though they weren't there, you knew they were what they were, but it lost some, what you remember the game being. And so in order to get the game what it originally was, especially if they're going for like what the Japanese release looked like, then clearly licensing, and I don't know if licensing would be a big hurdle, but it was something they'd have to clearly deal with. But now here's what I will say. Sega missed the very first true, what I would call the best opportunity to release Shenmue 1 and 2 HD Remastered. That would have been right after Shenmue 3 was announced at E3, because the hype among everybody at the time was crazy insane for something that, again, Final Fantasy VII Remastered was announced, and Shenmue 3, just things people never thought would happen. There was so much insanity that would have almost been an impulse buy for people at that time if Sega had released it then. Now, clearly, Sega's got to look at the money, how much it's going to cost to make those two games, because clearly, again, they need to make money off it. They just can't say, hey, I want to make a remastered edition because the fans want it and lose money. They're a company that they can't operate that way. But it will be interesting to see if Sega does this. Now, again, the next opportunity to me, if Sega were to say, okay, we're going to do the remakes, to actually release them or announce the releasing of them, would be if Shenmue 3, maybe this E3, maybe this E3 after, Tokyo Game Show, whatever, where they actually show some kind of gameplay trailer of what Shenmue 3 actually looks like, and then the hype begins all over again, and then that makes the sense to actually release them. Now again, Sega's been talking about this for a while, so they could already be in development, but again, who actually knows? Sega hasn't exactly been making a lot of games for consoles these days, so it isn't exactly like, they've been on that, they've been, more doing PC and more mobile than anything, like a lot of Japanese, truthfully, Japanese developers have been, publishers have been. So What would you guys think if Sega were to go and actually make HD releases of Shenmue 1 and 2? Would you buy them? Or are you on the opinion that, you know what, Sega should just re-release the originals, on, Xbox Live, and, on the, Microsoft Store and Sony Store and in the Wii U, whatever, and people could just buy the originals and play them as they are? Maybe with a tiny bit of polish, not anything else. I kind of want both, but I think, again, it depends what's going to be best for the company. Now, again, it's not like they had to be necessarily in a hurry. Shenmue 3 is not slated for release until December of 2017. So, there is a while yet before that comes out for these to happen. Again, if Sega seems it's viable. Now, there is a loyal fan base to Shenmue. There's no arguing. The question would be simply is there enough of a fan base to make the HD remakes worth it? And I hope it does get remade. I really would like to see. It'd be cool to see, again, something back then remade today. But then, would that make them want to change things that don't fit gameplay today? That's always your worry. Like, what are you going to do? Certain functions you did back then don't necessarily work in modern gaming. And again, I know people don't want it touched, obviously. They love the game. But sometimes when game developers, people sit down to make a game, especially remake, they're like, we could fix some of the things that wouldn't work today. That's always your worry and concern. Anyway, enough of me talking. What do you guys think? Do you want Shenmue 1 and 2 to actually be released HD? Are you glad Sega's looking into it? Would you actually be upset if they never remade 1 and 2? We'd love to hear your guys' opinions like always. I'll make another video soon. Later, guys. There we go.